Hi everyone, let's talk about AEW Dynamite from last week, which was a good show too. Let's talk about it, guys. So the show opens with a recap of the ending of Hangman Adam Page attacking Samoa Joe, and then the real Tony Giovanni's in the ring and gives us an announcement about a new championship. Then the Hobbs and Samoa Joe gets on the mic and asks Tony to sense an interruption before telling Houston that we have a problem. Then a term he heard a long time ago that might just plead to the man he's staring at in the ring, and Tony Giovanni, and then Tony chants, and then goes for the living legend, and Samoa Joe tells them to cheer him and say he knows Tony Giovanni will say he had nothing to do with what happened last week, but he found that very hard to believe. And Tony talks about how much respect he had for Samoa Joe and the Hobbs, and Samoa Joe barks at him to shut up and say he's going to explain what's going to happen, and there's a consequence for the actions we choose to and change in, and consequences have come for his little um Georgia Peach, and then the Hobbs slide into the ring, and security rush out to get between them and Tony Giovanni. And Samoa Joe says Tony is just getting more people hurt in this situation. Then Hangman Adam Page comes in, and then Samoa Joe bells, and security works to keep Hangman away from him. And Samoa Joe's okay with this because it means taking care of two problems at once. But Eddie Kingston reaches the hand, and Hook comes down to even the odds, and then the Hobbs break off the ramp. I'll say it again, break off the ramp, and Hangman gets on the mic and says he can forgive Joe for getting confused, but that Tony Giovanni and the Hangman is here, and he's right. He's Samoa Joe's problem, but his problem is about to beat his butt. And Rancher, the Rancher, brand for pants, Ranchers is the brand for pants, and stuff. And then Hook gets on the mic and challenges the Hobbs to put the belts they won without him on the line against them. And then Will Hobbs holds Samoa Joe back as he screams at Hook and that he doesn't talk to him like that. Give them the belt title. I'll say it again. The doesn't talk to them like that and gives them the title match. Then we had Claudio Castagnoli fences Orange Cassidy in the Blood and Guts Advantage match one, which that already happened. But we're talking about last week's stuff. And then Orange Cassidy dives on Claudio Castagnoli repeatedly before the bell and mounts punches on the barricade. And Claudio scoops him up and military pressed him back into the ring. And Orange Cassidy smashes his face into the post. And Claudio Castagnoli throws him into the turnbuckle and gets in the ring. And the ref finally rings the bell and twist death counter to an arm drag off the ropes, and a suicide dive caught Claudio with a delay reversal into the floor and marching him around the ring and dropping him gut first into the barricade and lifting him back up. And Claudio Castagnoli marches up the steps and throws him back into the ring. And Orange Cassidy sidesteps a charge and gets back body drop into the apron and a slingshot back in. And Claudio catches him and the delay Prince Orange Cassidy counter, grabbing a body scissor and taking the Swiss cardboard back, and slowly he gets a sleeper hold lock on, but Claudio swings him around and half ton times, and OC keeps the sleeper locked in, and Claudio starts to fade down on one knee and then gets on his feet, and he breaks the free of the hold by wishing bone his fingers, and giant swing falls, and he lets Orange Cassidy go like a bag of potatoes and sends him to the floor as we go to the break. And then back from the break, a straight suplex from Claudio, and OC puts his hands in his pocket to power up, and Claudio rushes over and drops him with a huge Prince lift, and OC puts his hands back in his pockets, and Claudio picks him up by the wristband of his hand. I was thinking wristband of his pants and putting him in the corner for hammering strikes. And Orange Cassidy stands up and hands back in pockets and diving Frankensteiner off the ropes and ducks under, and a shotgun drop kicks, and he fires up and blocks an uppercut and backslide for two, and then a penalty kick to the jaw. Crocker of City in the jaw crack, the jaw crack out across the arena, and then Claudio Castagnoli takes a walk, catching him on a corner and drop kicks Orange Cassidy corner into a tornado DDT onto the floor, and then back inside a diving tornado DDT lands true, and then an orange punch block roll through it, and then a ladder bomb from Claudio so close, and then a on strap cross face since on the kick out, and then rushes in to a big slam and a screw uppercut, still no, and then strapping Orange Cassidy into the ropes and hammering an uppercut and a Sundog Billionaire off the corner, and then an elbow pad down and an uppercut, counter orange punch, and then a Swin's death countered with an orange punch on the way down, and Claudio digs deep for one last go, and that's how Claudio Castagnoli won and did the Swiss death and taking Death Riders 1-0, then the advantage and stuff like that with the advantage. Then backstage, Renee Paquette interviews Mark Briscoe and Don Callis and Kyle Fletcher, and Mark Briscoe says 2 weeks ago he challenged Kyle Fletcher for his TNT championship, and he gets a response from Don Callis, but he wants an answer from Kyle Fletcher, and has since processed that Kyle Fletcher has to kick him and the family's Jews to win at Wrestle Dream, and that's like taking out with your sister. So he's trying to help him become a real man, and he wants to make the kick to the ball kneels in offense by making the rematch a no DQ. And Kyle Fletcher says he might since want that, and Don Callis says he seems to turn on and says he needs something from Mark Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe offered up his career, and Don Callis says he'll never want to take Mark Briscoe's career. He likes him as a wrestler. No, if Kyle wins, he wants Mark Briscoe to leave those losers in the corporation forever and join the Don Callis family, and he eggs Mark Briscoe on to think about himself for once and not about his kids. And Mark Briscoe says it's only a deal with the devil if he loses, and damn it, is he isn't losing, and he accepts the terms and then goes to the break. Then back for the break, Renee Paquette interviews the Young Bucks and Don Callis and Josh Alexander, and the Bucks the Bucks stubborn when asked if they join the Don Callis family, and Don Callis steps up and says he's just making sure they get the treatment they deserve, and a bunch of the rest of the family roll up for a deal punch, and Don Callis calls on Okada and specially talks to his pals, and the Bucks say they just need some time, and Don Callis accepts and leaves, and Okada warns them not to take too much time, and we cut off, and that's what happened right there, and then it cut off away. And then we had Athena and Mercedes Moné fences Babe of Wrath, Harley Cameron, and Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship Tournament first round, which was good, guys. This was really good, guys. Let's talk about it. So Mercedes and Harley start, and Harley gets worked over in a short order and quickly tags, and finally Harley lands a back suplex on Mercedes and tags Willow in, and an axe handle stacks them up in the corner and a stinger splash, and she whips Mercedes Moné into Athena, and then a missile drop kick, and both of them tied, turning a sense splash from the heels, and Willow kicks out and then goes to the break, and then Willow with a cannonball Suicide on Athena, and then a cover for two, and then tags to Mercedes Moné, and then Bay Willow Nightingale into a crossbody from Mercedes Moné that comes shocking close to a fall, then I'll say again, close to a fall, and then a flying octopus refers into a sidewalk slam, tags to Harley, and then both Babes of Wrath lighting her up to chomp, and Mercedes lands a low blower on Willow, but Harley hits a screw food, and Athena runs in, and Willow takes her out in a double team from the heels and a Monet maker and Willow Nightingale breaks it up, and by bouncing Athena into the hold and trading strikes with the falling goddess, and Willow lands her out with a lariat, and then Mercedes runs in and gets the layout with an elbow and the death style driver connects, and then Athena sidesteps the cannonball, and Harley tags in, and Athena has both of them up in a fall-away slam. Samoan drop combo only gets two of them. Billy Starks puts the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship belt into play, and Chris Statlander runs in to chase her off, and then a Doctor Bomb and Harley Cameron capitalized, and that's how they won, and that's how Faith of Ruth won pinfall with finishing move from Harley Cameron on Athena, and that's what happened, guys, and that's how they won. And then the Faith of Ruth celebrate by the title belt on display at the bottom of the ramp as they went to the break. And then back from the break, Tony Giovanni takes another crack on our new title announcement, and Tony Khan has announced a Casino Gauntlet match wherein the winner will be the first AEW National Champion, and it's been almost 40 years since the national championship has been on TBS, and wrestlers have been rushing to sign up for it. And he's going to announce two men who have already signed up and entered: Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP, which was awesome, guys. And Tony says this brings up a situation for the Hart Syndicate, and MVP says they're the most interesting thing in any room they step into and talk about the history of the national championship, naming guys like Paul Joseph and Jack Brosco and Dustin Rhodes and Winslow Duhamel and Nika Koloff. But when it comes to icons, who's more iconic than the almighty Bobby Lashley? Who is better than the center intelligence Shelton Benjamin? And they both entered the Casino Gauntlet, and the prize is theirs. And MVP says it's very simple. If they fight each other, they always do what's best for business, and who wins? The Hart Syndicate wins, and more importantly, the AEW viewing audience wins. And then enters the demand. Ricochet says he doesn't want to be in this trash ass state longer than he has to be, but Ricochet gives credit where it due, and he wants to give the Hart Syndicate the credit they deserve. It doesn't matter how since old they are, and they gobble every city, and they hobble out every week, and now they're talking about championship gold, and he admires that. And every time he opens his mouth and he spits facts, every time he grabs a mic, he's like saying, "I told you so," and he tells everyone that he would do everything that they never won gold again, and that what happened isn't. And he asked Bobby Lashley how his back is, and paused confused and at shut up, shut up, shut up, chant, and says they're making it worse, but it's okay. He's out here for the Hart Syndicate, and he's starting to get mad and he confused with Jacob Khan and Tyler. And MVP gets on the mic and says nobody cares what he has to say, and the only thing Ricochet has ever done well is get his butt whooped by them, and he's better shut up if he doesn't want another beating. And Ricochet says at Full Gear the demand will meet, and Ricochet will be walking out as your international AW international, once again, AW national champion, and annoying bird laugh, that whole thing, the freaking, freaking crap. And then MVP says he talks shit and they hurt people and run it. And then the Jurassic Express walk by the Don Callis family and lock room, and Jungle Boy, also again, Jungle Boy Jack Perry straps a $1 billion bill into a nearby table and said, since he knows the Young Bucks need the money and all of that, which we're going to get that match, a trios match for that at Full Gear, guys, and stuff with the Don Callis family with Josh Alexander and all of that, with the Jurassic Express and Kenny Omega, which I can't wait for that. Which I just wish it wasn't for a $1 billion thing, but it is what it is. Then Jon Moxley gets Daniel Garcia a little peep talk ahead of his match. Then we had Daniel Garcia faces Darby Allin in the Blood and Guts Advantage match 2. In the match starting in the ring in a fast pace, filling out Matt grappling a cinch wrist lock takedown into a ride and slams from Daniel Garcia in a wrist lock at Darby Allin, sending twist side headlock and blocks the shot off, and Daniel Garcia witches his ear to get away and throws Rust him for good measure, and Daniel Garcia kicks away in the corner and choking Darby Allin out of the apron, and Darby Allin bites his arm and dives on him and fighting onto the floor, and Daniel Garcia puts him hard into the barricade as we go to the break. And then back from the break, Darby Allin locks a body scissor cinch choke in, and Daniel Garcia refers to a sleeper hold, and Darby Allin counters one of his own, and Daniel Garcia counters it back up top and shocking for precision in a superplex, but Darby Allin rolls through and hits the Scorpion Death Drop out to the floor, and Daniel Garcia straps Darby Allin's head between the steel steps in the ring and feign and blasts the steel with a drop kick, and then he slides inside. Also, again, he slides inside and since the ref and starts his count, and then Darby Allin gets to his feet and bleeding, but Pac runs in and drops him with a lariat, and then the ref's busy letting Daniel Garcia distract him, and as since his count, and Darby is since in and a struggling, and Daniel Garcia gets the better of him and struggling him for a huge underhand chop, and then the Dragon Timber is locked in with a sting bowl. Also again, a sting owl. Also again, a sting owl, not a bowl, a sting owl, and Darby Allin crawling as Desprise, and he almost gets the ropes, and Daniel Garcia drags him back into the center, and Darby reverses kicks and a Scorpion Deathlock since to the middle of the ring, and it's over, and that's how Darby Allin won by submission with the Scorpion Deathlock. Even the things 1-1 in the advantage. Then the post-match, Pac hits the ring and beats Darby Allin down, and OC makes the save and right hand takes Pac into the corner and front kicks and Wheeler Yuta attempts to lay him out with a running knee. And then Roderick Strong shows up, but Jon Moxley takes Kyle O'Reilly out onto the floor before he can even get in the ring and step on his knees and leaving Kyle O'Reilly since agony, and Pac lands a pile driver on OC, and Quadio in a neutralizer on Roderick Strong, and the Death Riders work on Kyle O'Reilly over, but Roderick Strong recovers and makes the saves. We will go to the break as we go to the break. And then back for the break, FTR makes their entrance and sends Stokely halfway for once. And Cash Wheeler talks about becoming the number one contenders, and you think they'd be over the moon about it, but they should have won the tag titles for a third time at Forbidden Door, back in July, I think it was, or not July, August. Yeah, it was back in August. It was back in August, guys. Back in August, Forbidden Door was. But Brodito took that away from them, and they get a bone to pick, but they want to do it to their face, and they call Brodito on down, and Brodito's music plays, but no Brodito, and Renee Paquette goes to the locker room, and where Stokely Hathaway is leaning against the door as loud bounding noise comes out of it, and he says he tried to get Brodito to come out, but they wouldn't. So Orwell and asks if Renee wants to watch The Wire, and FTR makes sad noises and points out that Bandito's family's in the crowd, including his brother Gravity, and Dex Hardwood introduces himself and is in Spanish and continues in slow English to tell his grandmother he thought it was a beautiful that she attend her first wrestling show to support her grandson, and asks how old she is, and pulls the mic away and says he would guess she's not a day over 113 years old, and we just celebrate Halloween, but if we're talking Day of the Death, sister, she takes the cake and all that, which being disrespectful and all that stuff. And he's heartwarming what a star Bandito has become, and asked her to talk about how proud she is. Again, he pulls the mic away and he says she's probably petty, damn oppressed to call Bandito and this idiot Gravity her family, and says if she's a good girl, maybe he and Cash would adopt her as their, how do you say, Amalia, Globlia, and he wants to sell it with a little kiss on the cheek, and Grandma Bandito slaps him across the face, which was funny, slapped him right in the face. And then Gravity jumps the barricade and fights FTR and cuts back to Stokely, and then Brody King punches through the door and grabs at him, and then Stokely after he runs away, and FTR gives Gravity up for the spike pile driver, but Brodito makes the save in, and Gravity's okay. And that's what happened. And then they hyped the blood and guts thing. And then Tony Storms makes her entrance to join the commentary desk for the next match. And it's Megan Bain versus Mia Shirakawa for the first match advantage for the women. And Megan Bain pie face Mia and cutter an elbow and struggling into the ropes. And Megan breaks dirty with an elbow, and Mia takes it to her with an elbow off the ropes and a shoulder block. And then Megan takes her down with one of her own and then covered for one and a counter victory roll. But Megan Bain into the ropes and drop kicks to the knee and a roundhouse kick to the floor. And then Mia Shirakawa dives onto her in change, and then I love you with 20 Storms at ringside, and then Megan on top with her in an avalanche fall away slam connects as we go through the break, and then back for the break, Mia sidesteps a charge, Inzanari connects, and Megan with a fireman carry, and Mia slips out and trips her up in a slingshot tornado Snope, and Megan lands a German suplex, shocking for precision on the apron, and Mia lands an elbow and shocking for precision, and a big slap across Megan's face. And then a roundhouse kick follows, and a snap suplex on the apron. And then Mia fires up, but Megan cuts her off with another superplex and a powerbomb lift, and it counters into a Frankensteiner into the turnbuckle, and then rolling Northern elbow, and Mia off the top, and a diving sling blade, and no deal, and then Mia Shafir, I'll say it again, Marina Shafir melts down. I'll say it again, no deal. Maria Shafir melts out of the crowd to choke Tony Storms out, and then Mia distractedly, and then Megan with a big lariat running, and then Megan Bain wins by pinfall with a running lard bomb and taking her 1-0 towards the earning of the advantage. And then the post match, the heels work Mia over, but Tony returns to the ring with a steel chair to clean them out. And then a triangle of Magnus appears to help them work. And then Tony Storms and Mia over, but Jimmy Hayter and the Babe of Ruth even the odds. And then Mercedes Monet runs out and steps short and decides she doesn't want to get involved, but Chris Statlander appears behind her and lands her out before cleaning house in the ring. And then back from the break. And then we had the main event. Guys. For the AEW World Trios Championship, Hangman Adam Page and Eddie Kingston and Hook fences the Hobbs, Shibata, and Samoa Joe and Will Hobbs. Let's talk about it. So Hangman and Joe start circling around, and Samoa Joe tags Shibata in and collar and elbow, trading Prince elbows and whips reverse, and Shibata lands a boot and thinking about the STO block, and Hangman drops him with a boot in return and follows it up with a lariat and a cover for two. And then Hook tags in and whips to the corner, and an elbow sets up a bridging Northern Light suplex for two. And then Shibata knee lifts and a clobbering. I'll say it again. Shibata knee lifts and a clubbing. But I'll say it again. A clubbing blow. A clubbing bow. I'll just say that, guys. I'll say it again. Shibata knee lifts and clubbing blow, and Hobbs tags in and a backbreaker and whips to the corner, and Hook sidesteps and lands in an exploder suplex on him to set us to the break. And then back from the break, Eddie Kingston is down and out in the corner and waving Samoa Joe into the fight to him, and then since and grinding Eddie Kingston down, and a big back elbow when he lets go, and then taking it in a moment to stare at a hole, and Hangman Adam Page and since chop on Eddie Kingston in the back to their since crawl, and then a mat slam off the ropes, but Eddie Kingston rolls away from the suicide, and then tags made, and Hangman is on Powerhouse Hobbs, and then big boot triangle lariat takes Shibata out, in a low bridge sends Hobbs to the floor, and then a pleasure catch, and then puts Hangman flips out and puts Will Hobbs into the post up top, and then Will Hobbs rolls out back inside, and then Hangman ascends and takes him out with a moonsault, no good, and a rolling elbow whips, and Eddie Kingston blinds tags, and Hangman plunges on Shibata, and then a big lariat from Eddie Kingston, and then Samoa Joe runs in to drop him with one of his own, and then Hook, I'll say it again, then Hook passes him into the floor, and then Shibata cuts him off with the STO. Then Hangman with a boot, and then Will Hobbs pulls him off the apron and slams him into it repeatedly before cutting a Kingston dive off with a elbow, and then Shibata puts Eddie Kingston with a German suplex, and Powerhouse bounces Hangman halfway up the ramp, and then rolling elbow onto the stage, and Powerhouse rips and scoops Hangman up, and a Will rolls strongest slam off the stage and through a table, and then Samoa Joe is delight, and the match breaks down, and then Eddie Kingston lays an exploder on Shibata, and then Will Hobbs clobbers him into the corner, but Hook appears and tags in the Red'em counter, and that's how the Hobbs win by submission with a lesson from with Powerhouse Hobbs on Hook, and retains the AEW World Championship with the La Atlantica, the Atlanta from Will Hobbs on Hook, and that's how they won, and that's how they retained the AEW World Trios Championships. And then Hangman Adam Page gets medical attention while the Hobbs celebrate, and that's what happened, guys. That was a good show, man, from last week as well. And I gave that show a freaking 9 out of 10. That was a great show. I gave that show a 9 out of 10, man. That was a great show, I'm telling you, in my opinion. So, yes, guys, again, this is CJD. I'll say it again. This is CJD 2006, Christopher Jackson, Denver 2006. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit those notification bells as always, guys. And again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit those notification bells. And that's all I have to say. And peace out and take care. And peace out and take care.